Okay, perfect. So we are live, ladies.
Hi.
So welcome to Saturdays with Spirit. I'm Dallisa Hawking. I'm the CEO of Spirit and Spark. And we do this weekly show, and I welcome different people from our community to come and join me, and we talk about different spiritual topics. Today's topic is about psychic kids, the spiritual awakening, dynamics in a family, relationships, and navigating spirituality through all of it. So I'm thrilled to have my panelists here today with me, and so I'm going to have them introduce themselves. And so let's go ahead and start, Kelly.
Oh, hi. My name is Kelly Marshall. I am a licensed practitioner through Centers for Spiritual Living and also a coach here in Las Vegas.
Perfect. What kind of coach?
Personal and business.
Okay, perfect. Coral.
Hi, I'm Coral Newberry, and I do clairvoyant readings here in Vegas also, and I'm a portrait artist. I mostly paint kids.
Yay! And they have lots of kids between them.
Lots of kids.
So, 10 children between the panelists here. So,
well-versed.
Yeah, definitely more well-versed than I am.
Okay.
With kids, but the conversation I think will be very enlightening for people today, whether you have kids or you're around kids or you're thinking about having kids, and then whether you're single or you're married, we're going to get to that as well. So Spirit and Spark, we're a boutique spiritual center in Las Vegas, but we have people that watch from all over the world, which is really fun. So do me a favor, and if you're watching the video, please comment right now and let us know where you're watching from. City, state, or country, and that'll help us to get to know you, our viewers, a little bit better. And if you have questions that you'd like us to answer about psychic kids and spirituality and family dynamics, go ahead and ask the question. We have Sarah who's helping us out today, so she'll be looking for those questions, and we'd be happy to take them if they align with our topic here today. Okay, so let's get into psychic kids and the spiritual awakening.
Okay.
So do you feel that kids are different these days? And if so, how do you think they're different?
You want to go first, Kelly?
Sure. I believe that kids are different these days, but a lot of that is because parents are different. Over the past 20 years or so, there seems to have been a surge of spiritual awakening throughout society, and a lot of that trickles down to the kids that we raise or the families that we're part of. And so I think that's why it seems that kids are different.
Because parents are different.
Parents are different.
Okay. We're going to table that, and we're going to come back to how parents are different. So what do you think about kids these days?
I think they are different also, and I think it's for the same reason. I actually, before coming here today, I asked a number of people, do you think kids are just naturally more psychic these days, or, what's happening here? Because kids are, I feel like, displaying more psychic abilities. And across the board, people told me it's because parents are more psychic. It's because, not more psychic, but more accepting in their households of the psychic abilities. And they're raising children in a more conscious way. Even the way that they're eating is different. The shows that they're watching in their home are different. And so the whole environment in the household is different than it was even like 20 years ago. 20 years ago, if your kid came to you and said, I'm seeing things in my room, you'd probably send her to a psychologist or a therapist. And nowadays we listen and we ask questions and we want to know more, and we're just more accepting of what they're telling us. So
yeah. So parents are different,
Yeah.
which makes kids different. So do you think there's a reason why it's all happening now? Do you think that there's something interesting about the timing of now?
A lot of people talk about like the ascension, and I'm not really sure what exactly the ascension is supposed to be, but I feel like in general everything is cyclical. And so, we have our seasons and we have just the cycles of life, and I feel like there's a cycle going on that I think humanity is always in some sort of a cycle where we're kind of like in the dark ages, and then slowly, we have the Renaissance era where all these wonderful composers and painters are coming to like uplift humanity, and then slowly we're coming into this spiritual awakening. and I hope that it doesn't cycle back into, you know, the dark times and everything like
hope
that. But what I feel is that it is cyclical, and I don't really see it as we're going towards some place where everything's going to be magical and wonderful and perfect forever. You know, because nothing is that way. That's just not how nature works. But I do feel like we're really lucky to be here during this time where we get to be, you know, enjoy this spiritual awakening with our children, and so that's what I think is happening. I could be wrong.
And what do you feel, Kelly?
I believe that it is cyclical, but that where we are now is a result of where we've all been before. Speaking from my own experience, growing up in a household that had very traditional religion, things like intuition or psychic abilities or some sort of more open spiritual connection were not part of that. So because they weren't part of that, I didn't experience that as a child.
Right.
So as I grew up and became an adult and began to read and learn and research on my own, I wanted to go back to being that little kid again and knowing things. I mean, I listened to my intuition, and as I got married and had children of my own, I wanted to make sure that they had that same opportunity, that they didn't forget where they came from just because they grew up in a household that didn't know them that way, but that they were able, that ability was fostered over all of those years. So while I may not call my kid, any of them, psychic, I love that they're very in tune with that intuition, and they live with an experience of connection to a spiritual source.
Right. Yeah.
So that's how I believe they're different, and because they're that way now, it's a result of how we weren't before. That we had to be that way and not know in order to know now.
Yeah.
So it's just the right time.
Yeah. I think I personally believe we signed up to have lifetimes right now.
Right now.
And we raised our hand and said, send us in, and that we're here to help foster and bring forward more light.
Yeah.
And help these kids that are being born. But not only that, they're helping us.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're helping us to grow and ascend, or you know, whatever you want to call this process that we're going through. But I think kids these days are bringing more light, more knowledge. Like when I talk to kids that are around me, whether they're coming here or kids that I meet through friends or family, the things they say just sound so wise that they've been through this a few times. And so I find it fascinating that they're coming in with a lot more like deep understanding, and maybe they can't exactly articulate it when they're really young. You know, they're having these things that they're saying, and you feel like they're flashing back to something.
Yes.
And you hear kids too that have past life memories, and they come in and they're 3, 4, and 5 years old talking about a memory, and you hear stories of parents saying, where did you hear that from? They're like, I was in the plane that flew in World War II, and they have all those details that back up the confirmation of that. So do you think that kids are coming from someplace else or a different lifetime, and they're bringing that knowledge forward?
I think that to some degree we have all existed in some form before, and it may not have been as a person, but what we are and where we've come from is as old as the universe is. And sometimes kids come in with a connection to something that they were before, and they remember it now as if it were yesterday. And that's just speaks to their openness and their authenticity, that they don't doubt that that was the truth of what they were or where they came from, that they're so comfortable with it and live in a place where they trust that it's true.
Yeah.
Right. They don't have the fear of judgment of what other people are going to think.
They don't.
They just say what they're feeling and what their experiences are. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Maybe it's that they're remembering better than we did back in the day. Maybe that's what it is. And it's interesting because I was at a Unity Church in Sedona recently, And the preacher, I don't know if it's called a preacher, but he was talking, he said this super interesting thing where he said, back in the day, there used to be like the one big guru, for the whole world. There was the Jesus or the Buddha or, whoever. And then everyone would follow them and learn from their teachings. But now, as we're all in it together, and all of us are the teachers, and all of us are becoming more and more enlightened, so we don't need that one main teacher. And so I feel like the little people that are coming into the world right now, they could possibly be maybe reincarnations of these special teachers all at once. And I believe, my belief is, and as I've tapped in and asked also, is that with reincarnation, it's not just that, bam, I'm the reincarnation of Jesus, bam, I'm the reincarnation of Cleopatra, that we have, it's almost like a Lego box where you can build this one big ship, or you can take it apart and build lots of other little things, and that we have little pieces of different energies that create our whole, and that we can come in with little pieces of Michelangelo and a little piece of Christ or whatever. And so I kind of feel that maybe the children today are coming in with little pieces of these great masters. That's one of my theories.
Yeah, no, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Because you hear of these big consciousness beings that are actually like a lot of combinations to get to that one big frequency.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've heard that as well. I find
And that's
that
why,
interesting.
like with Mary Magdalene, so many people are like, I was Mary Magdalene, a different life. No, I was, and everyone has this like connection, and there's a good chance that they have a little spark of her,
Yeah.
And that's why so many people have a memory of being that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Past lives are interesting. There's
They
a book
are.
called The Boy Who Knew Too Much.
I just read that.
Okay.
It was so good.
I have it on audio,
Me
and I
too.
have the hard copy, and I have yet to finish it.
So good.
But I'm on a mission. I get really ambitious about the books I read, and then I like load them all up, and then I don't do any of them. But it's on my list. But it is about a boy who had a past life experience about him being a baseball player, like a really big baseball player. Lou Gehrig, yeah. So for parents out there that are interested in learning more about past lives and an account and an experience, The Boy Who Knew Too Much would be a good book for.
That's a solid one.
Yeah, to look into. So, and we were talking before we went on the air about fostering the ability within your children and psychic kids. And so you had mentioned that there are games or activities that you can do and that you've done with your kids.
Yeah.
So for people watching and thinking, oh, I've got, these kids, and I know I've got one that maybe has a little bit more of a psychic gift, is there a way to really develop that? What are some practical things that they can do?
Oh, this is so fun. Okay, I was hoping I'd get to talk about. I won't take too much time. But so my kids, one of the favorite games that we have at home that we play is cups, and I made it up, but it's easy to explain. And the way I learned it, and I kind of have to tell you how I learned it, so you know what to look for when you're doing it. Is when those magicians come to your table, like at a restaurant, and they go, they put a ball under a cup, and they do the thing, and they have to guess where the ball is. And so a magician came to my table once at a restaurant, and he started doing the game. And as I felt over at the top of the cups, I could feel like a heat coming off the cup where the ball was. And so I kept guessing, the right cup until he just was like, forget it. I'm not playing this game with you anymore. So I started doing it with my kids, where we would set up cups and we'd find just a random object. It doesn't have to be a special object. And you put it under one of the cups. And you just have them, I always have them rub their hands to kind of get their little energy going. And then just close their eyes and feel over the top of the cups to see if they can feel where the thing is. One of my kids, Mac, actually two, Mac and Violet, they are amazing at this game. It's like watching them it's like watching a little master. They just get, so into it. And so that's a really fun one. And it's also very calming because they have to really, all that, like their little thoughts from school and all their little stresses, they have to really let them go to tap in and try to feel where the ball is. But another one that's really easy, and I'll just share this last one, is you can get little colored beads. And sitting back to back with your child, or have them sit back to back with each other. And, if you have like maybe 10 colors of beads, and hold one of the colors, and then sit back to back with them and try to have them guess which color you're holding. And something about sitting back to back with a person, I don't know if they're picking up on you psychically, or how they're able to guess it, but it's a lot easier to tap in when you're doing it that way. So
I love those.
I have so many, but those are two of the funnest ones.
I love those.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do some similar activities in the psychic development classes that I teach, but those are a little bit tweaked, and I love them.
Oh,
and they're
okay.
easy for kids to do.
And they love
They're
it.
simple. Oh, yeah. Because then
Better
they get it right.
Monopoly.
yeah, better than Monopoly. Yeah, do you find there are any techniques that you use with children?
Well, what I find that works for my children and other children that I am close to are building a foundation of spiritual practice. And for us, that means meditation, journaling, visioning, and sitting in silence and recognizing when that space is open, when you're open to hearing and open to knowing, and being able to be confident in knowing what you're hearing is the truth. So for me, it's a very grounding practice, and something that I hope they'll carry on into their adulthood so that they remain in that open and knowing space.
Yeah, you mentioned meditation, which is great because I know there are parents watching that either already have their kids meditate or they want to introduce their children to meditation. Yeah. Is there a way do you have your kids meditate? And if so, is there kind of a simple way for them to start meditation with their kids? Is there a practice that you found to be helpful?
What I've found to be helpful is just having them start with 30 or 60 seconds of stillness. There are some fantastic guided meditations out there for children that you can find online too, and they're very visionary. They take them through flying and outer space and many different places that kids can really relate to because it seems like such an adventure. So my advice there is start small and be simple, and don't overcomplicate it with a lot of details, or you have to do it this way or you have to do it that way, because meditation is specific to the person that's doing it, not only in the method but the experience. So just be open and simple.
Open and simple, yeah. How about you? Do you have your kids meditate?
They won't do it regularly, even though I highly suggest it. But what I've read is that you should have your kids meditate for the amount of years they are in minutes. Oh. Which it might be a little tricky because I have a 6-year-old. She's not going to sit there for 6 minutes, I don't think. But that's the technique that a lot of people use. I teach my children to meditate. I feel like it's really important to teach them to breathe. And what I do, because they're not going to do a daily meditation at this age, I wish they would, but they won't. What I do with them a lot is teach them to ground. I teach them the grounding meditations because after they've had a crazy day at school, or they're very stressed out with homework, or my little cheerleader daughter, is just rah, shish kumbah, and, she comes home all hyped up. If I can teach them to ground their energy down, that goes a long way towards just keeping them calm and connected. So, and it's fast, you just, and I don't know.
Tell us. Okay. Yeah, tell us how you have them ground.
So with the little ones, a lot of the time I'll put my hand on their chest and on their back just so they can feel that mama's there and that there's a connection there and they feel safe. And then I talk them through a guided meditation of just visualizing tree roots, and I always say growing out of your butt because they understand that. But, growing out of your tailbone where they're red tree roots, and I just have them breathe and visualize these roots going down into the ground and hugging the earth and feeling really safe and really tied to the earth. And I say it and I talk about it and I describe how they look and how it feels for a good 3 or 4 minutes until they start to feel grounded. And for the older children, they know how to ground, and so when they're feeling very flighty, a lot of the time I can just either put my hand on their head or again on their chest, and I will just visualize them grounded. I will do it for them, and even just visualizing it and doing it for them in my mind will ground them. So, yeah. Yeah,
connection between their energy, your energy, and being able to bring them.
Because teenagers can have a really hard time, even when they're trying to visualize the roots and everything. They're just so in their heads, and so doing it for them a lot of the time is the only way to do it. They're not, they're not getting it.
No, that's helpful.
Yeah.
And for everyone watching, if you do have a question that you want us to answer today that's in alignment with kids and psychic abilities and family dynamics, or if you need a tip from us on what you can do to navigate a situation, let us know. Let's kind of switch gears a little bit. So I want to talk about relationships between husband, wife, or partners, or whether you're married or not married, but you're deciding to create a life together, and you're what I would call like head of the household together, and you're building a family together. Okay, so of course we would all hope that the two people would be on the same page with each other, and having the same like visions and aspirations for spiritual growth, and but it's not always the case. Right. And I see a lot with clients where they'll come in and say, I'm on this journey and I'm growing and I'm evolving and I want to know more about the universe and what's happening to me, and the person I'm with just has nothing to do with this and doesn't want to talk about it and doesn't believe in what I believe. And so how does someone, we're going to start with people that are in a relationship, have you found that there's anything to help them navigate dynamics between them and the person that they are, creating this family with that may not be on the same page?
Yeah, I have clients that come to me with the same thing, and it's different for everyone. You really have to sit with the person and see the dynamics and see if the husband, it's usually the husband, but no, see if the husband is or the wife is or the partner is very resistant, or if they're just not into it. And so you're going to give them different advice depending on, how resistant they are. But for the most part, what I tell people is don't put that pressure on them. They don't have to be on your team. They don't have to believe all your stuff. Hold your own energy and continue to vibrate high, do your meditations, and do what feels good to you. And a lot of the time, that will start to trickle out into your home. How it happened with my own husband, he was, oh my gosh, every time I went to him, and oh my gosh, let me tell you about this crazy thing that happened. I had this dream that came true, blah, blah, blah. And he would be like, well, it could be, blah, blah, blah. And I hated it. But, I got Gaia, the TV.
The streaming service.
Yeah, and so I started watching all these spiritual shows on TV about energy, and every once in a while he'd sit down with me and watch them, and after a while he was like, and now he's very, very open, and a lot of the time it will happen that way, just by doing your own thing, and you don't have to put pressure on them, because what is the familiarity breeds contempt, so the more that you're like, here, read this, look at this, the more they're going to be like, leave me alone, and just appreciate they're their own way, and respect that, and you're okay doing your own thing too, and be okay with that.
Yeah, you make a great point. The more you rock yourself out and you're just like, this is what I resonate with, and you share it, but not in a way that impedes on their space and their beliefs, I do actually find that the other person starts to become more curious, and they want to get more involved with it. Yeah, what's your experience, Kelly?
I agree. I think that as you're on your own spiritual journey and you are vibrating at a higher level, or really coming into your authentic self, that other people will look at you and say, I want what she's got. How did you get there? And by sharing a home or a life with people who may not be on the same path, it will fall onto them at some point. Yeah. And that little idea or that spark of intuition will come around. And as long as you are living your journey with your highest and best intention, nothing can go wrong. Mm-hmm. So I do believe that the world will catch up with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, what about the viewers out there that are single and they're listening to this right now and they think, gosh, I would love to have a life with someone that can be a partner for me, that can be a companion, somebody who does want to grow spiritually with me. Do you have any advice on how to manifest, like bring forward the vision and bring that person into their life?
I do, and it's be specific.
Be specific, okay.
Be specific. Vision for it. Attend workshops. Focus. Make a list. Study. And, if you need someone to help you with that, attend a seminar. See someone like these beautiful ladies here and really dig down deep to what it is you desire. And when I say be specific, I really mean be specific. I can tell you of examples of people who said, I wanted someone to come into my life who was caring and wealthy and traveled the world with me. Okay, they got that, but they also got his mother. So he wasn't so independent, and he needed somebody to take care of him. And often we may find ourselves attracting the same type of thing we don't want. And that is where being specific comes into it. Really know yourself and know what you want.
Yeah.
And do you find that vision boards, like creating a vision board, helps?
I do. And I just facilitated a vision board workshop earlier in January, and people came to that, and we worked through the meditation part and told me, wow, I thought I was going to come here and ask for this, but it's really this that I want a vision for. And when you're doing something like that as a spiritual practice, it becomes very easy and clarifying to put those things down on something you can visualize every day. And by making part of what you're doing every day what you want to see for your future, it helps it become more real, and people around you start to pick up on that, and they will help you. And before you know it, the universe is bringing you things that will help those dreams and visions come true.
Yeah, you're putting in your request. Your thought
You are.
brings forward, so be specific, because
Yes.
whatever that order is,
Be specific.
that's what you're grabbing a hold of.
Yes,
It's,
yes.
I've heard it put like you're putting in your Amazon order. Amazon's going to deliver.
Oh, yeah,
So
I
be
read that
careful what
recently.
you're putting in your
Right.
cart.
Right.
That's very true. Very true.
Yeah. How do you feel like about people trying to bring forward and manifest that right partner for them?
I agree with all of that, but I also think you mentioned something about you keep getting something you don't want, kind of the same thing that you don't want over and over. And I feel like we do that because we haven't changed. And so a lot of the time, there's that saying that we don't get what we want, we get what we are. And so I feel like it really starts with, if you keep getting the same person over and over, that means that something inside of you needs to change. And so I think digging really deep and saying, what do I need to heal within myself to get the kind of person I want? So say you want to write down, okay, I want someone who's really strong, independent, good with kids, spiritual, blah, blah, blah. Make sure that you're all those things too. Otherwise, you're not going to match up to that person. Or if you do, it's going to be very temporary.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I think oftentimes things will come to the surface that we need to heal.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I do. You find people all the time where they keep dating the same person in a different costume, but it's the same person, it's the same energy. Do you have any tips on how someone might be able to identify where it is that they are getting in their own way? Because there's a lot of deep-seated programming that a lot of people have had for a long period of time. And so to your point, the person who attracted the great guy but had the mom and needed somebody that he could count on, was there something within her that needed to feel like she could be a mother to someone or feel like she could be counted on, and that's where her value came in?
Yes, in that particular case, it was someone who always felt like they had to be in charge. So the universe brought them someone they had to be in charge of.
Yes.
Ooh, interesting.
And it is, sometimes people can uncover those blockages on their own. Sometimes it helps to have somebody else listen for them and maybe give them a guiding direction to go. But I think that it is exactly what you stated, that what you are, you receive. I mean, what you believe comes true. So, and a lot of times it's not really on the surface. Women will say to me, my boyfriend is this negative, and I just don't know what to do. Well, really, it becomes a choice. What do you want to do? Do you want to be with this negative? Do you want to break away and go on your own? Do you want to have some time to explore something deeper within yourself? And I think sometimes they just don't realize or remember they have this whole life to live too. That you don't necessarily have to be tied to someone else to be at your highest and best.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It brings up an interesting question, which I think some of our viewers would be interested in hearing your opinion on. So we've talked about, family dynamics and being in relationships and finding somewhat of an equal or somebody you can have these conversations with, and then raising kids that have these special gifts. How do you think that before kids are born, do you think that they pick their parents?
Yes.
And let's elaborate. So, yes, you think that kids pick their parents. Why do you think kids pick their parents?
I think that kids pick their parents, and I can clarify the statement a little if I need to, because we are the universe learning about ourselves. And every time we come into this existence, it's because we have things to learn. And I can't get the same experience in this family that I get in this one or that one. And it's just part of the natural evolving of us as a whole, as part of our spirit collective. And we know what we need to learn, and we're put here to do it.
Interesting. Okay. What do you think? Do kids pick their parents, and why?
I think so. I think they do. I think we all pick our circumstances in general. You know, I always feel like it's kind of like we're going through a Walmart with an empty basket, and we're kind of throwing things in. I want to learn this, I want to learn that, and then we get to the end, and that's when we're born, you know, really with all the stuff that we decided we want to learn. And those lessons that we decided that we wanted to work on, we have to match them up with certain people. And so, you know, we pick our parents to learn exactly what you said, that we, you know, pick them to learn certain lessons. Yeah. But I also think the parents pick the kids. You know, they have to agree. And I think that, just as you said earlier, that we learn so much from our children. And in a way, you know, they teach me more than I teach them a lot of the time. And so I feel like I've picked my children so that they can teach me some stuff, you know, so.
Yeah. Do you think that we have the same lifetimes with the same soul families? They call them families or pods, where it's the same group of souls, maybe not the same exact pod or family each time.
Right,
but do you think that we constantly are switching roles and going through different lifetimes with the same group of people?
Yeah, I started doing kind of group past life. They're not regressions because I don't regress people, but they're past life readings. And so from doing those, I really started to see that even people that are not hugely in your life right now, that you might just know on a superficial level, have been in your life before in more prominent roles, and that we just kind of switch things up and, you know, shake things up with each life, but that we do have like a group that we continue to reincarnate with. And what's also interesting is that, and it is a common belief that we do reincarnate within our family. And so I did that DNA testing thing where you spit in the cup, okay?
I did that too.
Yeah, it was so cool. But then I was meditating later that day, and I felt that my guides told me that when you do a test like that where you can see your ancestry from many years back, that it's a good way to kind of trace the places that you've lived in different lives, because we've reincarnated with the same family. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I know those tests are interesting.
Oh, they were life
Have you done one before?
No, I have not yet.
Really cool.
Yeah, it gives you the map and shows you where everybody's coming from, and I think a lot of people are from the same part of the world where they originate from, and then it shows like the pathway that we all took, and it's fascinating. Yeah. So tell people where they can find out more about you, and if they really aligned with what you were saying today. How do people find you?
You can find me on my website, which is yourpractitioner.com. I'm also on Facebook at Your Practitioner.
Perfect. Yeah. Do you have any like upcoming classes or anything that those that are in Las Vegas or maybe live nearby that would like to take a trip into Las Vegas?
I have a Wednesday night service at Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Las Vegas, near UNLV, on May 22nd at 7 o'clock, and the topic is Universe 2.0. That's YOUNIVERSE. And it will be a conversation about oneness, our origin from the Big Bang to now, and why we're here. So I look forward to that. I also have a vision board workshop coming up called Tomorrow and Beyond on June 8th, also at Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Las Vegas, at 10 o'clock in the morning. And that brings me to my giveaway. Do you
Yeah,
want me to
let's
talk
do that.
about
And then
it?
we'll have Coral give us all of her
okay.
information. Yeah, so she brought a gift to give away. So isn't that fun?
Yes, I have a book in here by Dr. Ernest Holmes, a current issue of Science of Mind magazine, a Jamie Luna CD, and a certificate to attend that vision board workshop free of charge coming up in June.
So how are you giving it away?
That's the trick. So tell us on Instagram or Facebook what the greatest vision for your life is, and we will pick a winner.
Yeah, so what's the greatest vision for your life? So comment and let us know the answer to that question. We'll review it. We'll pick a winner, and then you can come to Spirit and Spark and pick up your gift. That's fun. Thank you.
Great, sure, my pleasure.
All right, Coral, where's everyone going to find you?
Hi, so I'm Coral Newberry, and I am on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram under Coral Newberry, and I'm on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. And I also on coralnewberry.com. And I'm not doing a ton of workshops right now or speaking, just because I'm trying to finish this book because is everything right now. But I do a lot of Facebook Lives, and I do share my YouTube videos on Instagram also. So I share a lot of different tips on doing house clearing and little psychic games with your kids and basic meditation and just little basic things that you can do in your own life to uplift yourself, raise your vibration, clear out your energy, just really simple things. So hopefully you'll take a look.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want more information on Spirit and Spark, go to spiritandspark.com. We have our class calendar, our upcoming certifications, all kinds of good stuff. We also have a free guide on there for manifestation. So grab that while you're there. And any final words of wisdom or maybe any advice you give your kids to kind of close things out? So what would be like a piece of advice that you think that everyone could use out there?
Not in a religious way, but I tell my kids to pray at night especially. I feel like that's such a good way to clear your energy from the day and to have a peaceful night's sleep and to start your day fresh. So calling in your guides, and it's not God so much that we're praying to, it's whatever you feel is out there. So we call on the goddess, we call on God, our guides, our angels, our ancestors, and all of those higher energies that are here for our highest and best. And every night we call those in and ask them to be with us throughout the next day. And that's a practice that I love, that I really pound into the babies. So
I love that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what would be your piece of advice?
I do also say bring some spiritual practice into your life, and whether that is affirmative prayer, meditation. And meditation is not just sitting still. It can be anything. Hiking, communing with nature, sitting and just looking into the eyes of someone that you love. Bring those grounding spiritual practices into your life, and that will become a foundation for your family. And keep it simple.
Keep it simple. And one thing that we were talking about before we went live was not caring what other people think.
Yes. Yes.
So I think the more that we can teach, especially children, but adults need it too, knowing that what other people think about you is none of your business.
None of your business.
None of your
That's right.
business. And that gives you such a sense of freedom and that you can live the life that you want when you just don't care what other people think. It's not their journey.
yeah.
And so it's not to say you can't find value in the people that mattered to you and what they think, but don't allow it to grab hold and suffocate your life.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
me today on this live broadcast and our YouTube video. And I wish you both continued success in your pathway forward, and hopefully we get to do this again soon.
Yeah.
anytime.
All right.
you.
Thank you. All right, everybody,
All
we're
right.
closing out now. So thank you so much for joining us today. And Sarah's going to close us out.